How's it going? It's bigSHow, theGod. I thought today's topic would be an interesting one, WHYS. So as I mentioned, I've done a few podcasts with various subjects. And then now we're going to get into something a little bit deeper with why do it? Why am I wanting to do these? And they can be from the goals. Why do I want to do this goal? Why do I want to go and be part of something? Join that group? Why do I, things of that nature. Just a lot of whys. And it's important with that. I have the why, otherwise I don't seem to stick to stuff or just create some sense of meaning, some sense of purpose to the subject, which tends to help motivate and drive other areas. So if we start with why, what I thought I'd do is I'll do it in real time. And I mentioned before I was doing my next 3-year goals or forecasts. Goals and then the forecasts of the goals and the steps to how to achieve the goals. So I'm in that process now. And so what I do is I have to question parts of that process with a why. Seems counterintuitive sometimes, but it makes you step back and question what you're doing. Why do that versus this? Why am I creating some goals versus that? And you get through them pretty fast, but try to go a little bit deeper to create some sort of self-awareness that subconsciously might be there, but brings it more as a conscious self-awareness. Rather than just looking at the process of doing. Just, okay, create a goal. This was an example. Well, we'll start with the example of why do forecasts and the goals for 3 years. Why? And comes to my mind is accountability. It's progressive. It supports emotional progress. It enables me to be uncomfortable. So ask some uncomfortable questions through the journey. Which I already know are beneficial. So accountability triggers me practicing and then the result is being uncomfortable with some of the actions I have to go and take, or pushes me to go take. And then we get into leadership. Leadership is something I like to be viewed as. And this is a piece of that This is a piece of that evidence of being a leader. I've been able to be uncomfortable. I've been able to be present. I've been able to make difficult decisions. I've been able to change. I've been able to influence. I've been able to focus, stick to subjects, improve, self-improve, all that sort of stuff, in my opinion, are traits of a leader. So those are the why questions. And I got reasonably deep there in how I want to be viewed. And when I say leadership and how I see myself, self first, and if I see myself as that, and I'm actually doing those progressive things, then my family see it, my parents see it, my children see it, and that's in itself part of the why. So why? My friends. If I see myself as a leader and then they view me as a leader, that's the why. That's how I want to be viewed. And I guess in that, with the leader and the view to be able to be seen as a leader is work, takes sacrifice, takes all those types of things. So those are the whys. Those are saying it out loud what I'm looking to get from these. And so, yeah, so I think I've explained those. So now if we go through the whys, we have the forecast that we're trying to do, 3-year forecast. So let's just reset that. And to stay with the whys and to stay with the forecast, as mentioned, I've got pillars that I use to use as the scaffolding for the 3-year forecasts. So as I mentioned, I've got finances. So we've got 3-year forecasts. If we go relationships, 3-year forecasts. Already asked the whys. Relationships, what was my 3-year forecast with those? Remember, I've got 3 years of data minimum. I've got about 6 years of previous data to see how I've tracked. And so I do that in a couple of ways. I always go MIP, which are most important people. I do that to resync me, because what I noticed with myself a while back was out of sight, out of mind kind of thing would pop in, and I would only deal with who was around me. And I spent a lot of time with who was around me, but then I'd be thinking, well, I enjoy these people, but are they the most important people to me? So when I use most important people, it just resyncs me to think about those people and what am I doing with them? What do I know about them? When was the last time I talked to them, messaged them, that sort of communication side? And then how did that communication go? What was happening through it? What can I do better? What else can I do? That type of thing. Without being overbearing and crazy, because everyone's got their own stuff, right, as you learn. But that's an example of a pillar, relationships. I got the most important people, so I'm very specific about the most important people. And then what's my historic data like? How's it been tracking? What's it honestly been as an overview of looking over the conversations? So what's good about the digital world is that a lot of our conversations are sometimes messaged in letters and casts, posts to each other. And so I can reflect on some of those over the last couple of years. Quite scroll down and just remind myself of what was going to give me a reasonable overview rather than the last encounter. Because sometimes that's not an indication of the whole picture. Be a little bit like having a conversation on their birthday, and that's the only conversation I had with them. But when I review myself the day after their birthday, I make out like it's like I've got a great relationship with this person. Whereas I'm not sure about that. Wishing someone a happy birthday and asking them how they are on that day, I don't know constitutes a good relationship. That's not enough evidence. If that's all you've got, or pretty much, I'm not sure. So that's where I go on that type of. So if I just looked at it then, I'd say, yeah, no, it's great. Out of sight, out of mind for another 12 months, and then birthday again. Some reminder. Send in copy and paste the last conversation from last year, or get the same replies as last year. Maybe don't go too deep. Don't ask too much because don't really want to know, or you know what I mean. Not really a relationship, in my opinion. Which is what I'm trying to understand. That's the level of where I go. So, most important people, and then what is it as an overview and as a forecast for this? So remember, I've got the now. How's the relationship now? Relationship now, which is the most important piece. 3-year historic. It's the 3-year historic. Whether the relationship was better or worse, as an overview or whatever, it makes kind of no difference. It's viewed as where it is currently. So currently, and where do I see it forecasting? It's kind of how I look at it. Relationships are tricky because that other people involved in the equation. But really, this is all about what I'm going to do. It's not about what they're going to do. It's what I'm purposely planning, forecasting to do over the next, let's say, timeline, 3 years. What does that look like? And what does having a better relationship with my children mean? Oh, okay, you're going to what? What does it actually mean? What does it actually look like? What does that actually involve? Doesn't mean ringing them up every 10 minutes, does it? You're just annoying. What does it mean I just ring them? I don't ring them at all until they ring me. Okay, good luck with that system. You know what I mean? So review the last 3 years openly and honestly and have a real good look at it. That should establish where you're at now as a kind of an overview. And then what do you see going forward? And if you're progressing and the line is going okay, a lot of it will be just having these conversations with them. Generally, one at a time. When I can, having a conversation with them. It takes work. So that's in there. So that's the relationship forecast. So with my most importance, as I mentioned, I've added a step in there. It's a conversation. The conversation will probably, I'm thinking out loud here. I've done this before, so it worked before. The conversation and letting them know what I'm doing. So conversation, sharing. So a little bit about with the most important people in my life. I post them a monthly update about what's going on with me, to all of them. I message each of them individually at least once a week. Sometimes less, depending on where I think we're at, what's going on, So it can be a month. It can be a month. It wouldn't be more than a month that goes by without contact, within some shape or form. And this is just my communication. If they communicate more through the month, then I'm responding to those, just as in catch-ups and stuff they did on the day and things of that nature. But as a general structure, I'm communicating to them every month, 2 to 3 times minimum. Some months more, some months less, just related to what's going on. And my children all got different opinions and different stages and different awarenesses where they are, like myself. So that just gives me touch points to see if I can know more about them without being intrusive. So that's the relationships, conversations, sharing. So what I'm saying here is I'm starting to build some steps of what I'm going to do as part of my 3-year forecasts. And then the result of these steps are what I have in place. So with the relationship one, a lot of it's just more the same, but it still invigorates me to do something a little bit more uncomfortable. Maybe my steps can within this, because I've set up how I like our relationships to be progressed even more. We're already communicating at what I just said, that sort of level. And remember, it's my input that I'm putting in. Do I want to do more of it? Do I want to change it? Do I want to? That's dependent on how I see it. There's still a bit of I got a question if I'm avoiding something with one of them. And am I avoiding it because it's uncomfortable for me? And then I say, would it make our relationship improve? Would it be more authentic? Would it be more honest? If I'm feeling this, if I shared it. And if the answer is generally yes. So then I have to work through myself to how do I present it. And so I have to have enough good touch points with that person to be able to engage in this kind of conversation, because you start feeling there's a risk there. So the risk I use a lot is a risk versus reward. I used to always say, well, if you're not talking to someone at all once a year, say, back to that analogy, where's the risk in me telling them how I feel if the feelings are negative? You're talking to them once a year anyway, if that. So I didn't see any risk in that. And that's probably similar for when you have a better relationship, or if you're having more contact, more so. It can be seen as, well, I've told them once before this, how I feel about some particular subject or how they're making me feel. And you think, well, if I bring it up again, they're not going to talk to me again. That's your risk factor, right? Oh, they're never going to talk to me again about whatever the subject might be. But I always come back to thinking, then it's not an authentic relationship. It's not a truthful relationship, vice versa. And so you don't have as authentic a relationship as you wanted to have. And so how are you going to do it if you don't bring it up? Let's talk about the weather. Just keep talking about how nice the day is. I don't know, man. And that gets tough. Trust me, that's tough with people. It's tough for me, but it's tough with them as well. Which is why I have to balance. I have to balance it out. Just because I'm capable of throwing five examples of 5 things on an emotional level with them, doesn't mean they're ready to receive it. Because like anybody, defenses are natural. Defenses come into it when you're uncomfortable. You got to work through the defense mechanisms that we instinctively bring in. Shutting down is defensive. I do it as well. So just because I want to invoke it and want to practice it doesn't mean the other person does. Because the other person's like, what you on about? I'm fine. Someone's saying, well, no, don't think so. What do you mean? Oh, here's an example. I don't care about that. Well, I think you do care about that because A, B, C. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, you don't. Okay. A year from now, I realized I think that way about that. I know. So, yeah. So, being a told you so, what does that achieve sometimes, right? So you end up doing a bit of, or a lot of, oh, well, you be you. Okay, then. And I just explain myself more and share my journey. That's what that comes to. So we got, so see that process there? We've been able to forecast, create some steps, create some actions, and then from that, we're going to end up with a summary. A summary for the pillar. So summary for relationships. So in a 3-year timeline, as a summary for most. So I focus on the most important people, 3 years, and that grows. So most important people will include some friends, but primarily focuses in my piece. And then we've got close friends, distant friends, and so on, that are within the relationship bubble or pillar. But on the summary, that's my focused actions and tasks. But the steps that I'm going to take, like having a conversation, sharing, to achieve the summary. So the summary will be something like, in 3 years, be some type of quote that I'll develop. As we see, authentic, honest. Because when I use words like that, I have to demonstrate it. I have to have evidence behind it. I can't just put it up there as a word. What do you mean by being authentic? Remember, this is a forecasted authentic. Whether it's more authentic than I am today. It's more honest than I am today. And if it's not more honest, then it's still honest. It's an honest relationship. Authentic. So I'm going to develop a quote. That'll take some time. That will go on my vision board that I'll reflect on each month. Know that that's what I'm planning to have in 3 years as a forecast, and the steps and the balances and the reviews underneath. The summary is just to create my own. Is a way of creating my own vision board quote that's going to invoke me to continue to do the tasks and the work and motivate me daily, weekly, monthly steps that I can record that can be involved in it, that are steps in a progressive step towards these pillars. It's another way of balancing out from monthly review. I've gone another layer and asked the whys. I've questioned it. A lot of I get similar answers, but then sometimes I get similar steps, reinvigorates another couple of steps. And then as a 6 or a year goes on, this quote is going to bring me back in line when, especially when times have gone. It's not just a straight line to growth. Growth spirals. Some of these conversations, my children might not want to talk to me for a while. You'll argue, well, that isn't going well. It's not growth. But generally it is. It's what I do. It's how we function through it to get the point through. So yeah, that's my process of building forecasts, about having the whys in there. So I specifically talked about the whys in that, to question myself all the way through. Just try having that self-awareness in there. I'm not just rebuilding the same old thing. Remember, I did this 3 years ago. I can't just keep rebuilding the same thing and hoping for something to keep improving. Even though I can give you evidence of my relationships from 3 years ago, and I can say they're better with some evidence, what does it take to go from here to here? What's it going to take? Just carrying on doing the same thing? I don't know. You might say, well, why aren't you just satisfied with how everything is now? I am. I didn't say I wasn't satisfied. progress doesn't mean I'm not satisfied, if that's how it's coming across. I think progress is just maybe something that I enjoy. I enjoy progress. I enjoy the challenge of it. So different doesn't mean I'm not satisfied. Or does it? Here we go. So here's what I do. I pull in a word, then I go, am I? And I question it. I might say no, yes. Then I might end up because so I pose this question on myself. Satisfied. I tried to put a negative slant on that. And a negative in the sense that, am I going to never be satisfied? And I'm saying, I did this questioning once before. I said, if I died today, would I be okay? Other than that I don't have a choice anyway. So too bad if you're not. But, we can go through the wish list thing and what are the things that I want to do. I wouldn't be fucking happy with it. That's just a fact. But satisfied with my life and the things I've done. Yeah, I'd be satisfied with it. Very, very okay with everything right now. I don't have something sitting here that I'm burning that I wish I want to do. So I'm quite comfortable just doing more of what I'm doing now. Would I want to be richer and have more? Of course. But very, very comfortable with what I've got and what I do currently as a overall lifestyle. So that satisfaction or contentment, I'm content. I guess I don't like those words in the fact that they kind of lead to just, sit there with your feet up and lie around, stay the same, or just make excuses, no, I'm happy with this, I'm comfortable. And I feel like that's a lot of where I've been. I think those are all easy. I think that's why I have a problem with them. So I can reflect out and be very comfortable with everything. I'm very motivated to be content and satisfied and comfortable. I already am. This is why I do these processes, I think, is to motivate and encourage more development, because that's why I'm satisfied and content and thing with where I am right now, is because I was, in my opinion, here and now I'm here. That's what's created that. Well, if I keep doing that, it will keep creating it. So will I be more satisfied? Will I be more content? Will I be more comfortable? Probably. So that's why the words, it's like happy, it just moves. Just moves. Am I satisfied if everything around me is the same next year? Don't know if I will be, actually. I'm not saying everything has to be crazily better, just change, improvements, develop stuff, and that does go from a relationship emotional level. At the end of the day, those are the ones that have to be questioned. That's why I use relationship in this cast, to be honest, because I find that one of the biggest ones for me, where I can make a lot more improvements on from an individual, as an individual. Some of it's from how I deliver my messaging, or messaging that I think matters, and from how it makes me feel doing it and owning it, and having that self-awareness through it. That's why I'm a big believer in having a difficult conversation benefits me a lot. It just does. I had a real difficult one yesterday. For me, it was difficult for me. And I say it's difficult if I truly reflect on how I'm feeling through it. What I would have said was, not a problem. I just said this, but that wasn't being authentic and honest. It was fucking difficult for me, and I feel it days after. I just do. I feel it now, and that's when the conversation went well. I planned it. I spoke about it. I was specific. I said bits and pieces. There was some unknowns through it, and there's a group of 7 people that I had to have this uncomfortable conversation with. And like I said, it was uncomfortable for me because I'm responsible for these people. Well, not the 7 that I was presenting to, but the people I was presenting a case for. And I carry it around afterwards. I reanalyze it. I go over it. Did I get my point across enough? Did I say enough? And whereas now I find that same event, that it sticks with me, but it's far less. I'm not sitting there all night questioning what I said, what I didn't say. I'm not doing any of that, whereas I would have. I definitely would have. Would have been holes. Now my holes are just, are there other steps I could have taken? And I know when I do my review of it all that there isn't any holes there. And then I know from feedback from the people that I've presented to, in their way, that they got the point. And I'll continue to get messaging as the month progresses on that point, which means I delivered. And it got thinged, even if at the time they were confused, even at the time they were a bit, which meant I was able to bring them in, stay on task, stay focused, and make sure every party was clear on what I was trying to get to each one of them. Because what can happen is, what has happened with me, because I want to avoid making this person feel uncomfortable around me, I'd back off there and just target the others. This is the one that I needed it to be. And whether they feel they're attacked or not makes no difference. I'm doing my best to make sure that I wasn't attacking them. But if they feel attacked, then that's I have to deal with that as a separate thing. I can't not get the point across. Because you can feel attacked at the time, and then as you think about it and review it to yourself, go, oh no, they were just bringing the point up. So that was it was great for me. And then so what I can do there is I use that to bring it over to other areas like this. So I view that as a relationship gain. So I gained, they are not on my most important list, but they're up in the functional relationships I have. So I got to practice it there, but that's going to benefit me long term in my career pillar, actually. So that's in my career forecasts. A lot of this is part of that. So and that's progress, and that makes me feel great. It didn't feel great, and it still doesn't right now. I still have a bit of thing, and it actually affects some of my other bits and pieces. But in another few hours, I'm going to be slightly better again. So yeah, those are the areas that I'm going to get rewarded for the most, I think, over the next 3 years. So that's why this process I'm going through now is going to have a lot more emotional content to it, because that's the bit I need to get better at. And to get better at that requires more planning, better systems, better processes in place, so that I don't avoid it, which is what this has all done for me. That's what forecasting does. That's what having soundboards, calendars, task lists, project lists. It's not just all process. For me, it was a bit out of balance. It's now just owning the emotional parts to it. And in my opinion, that's what's going to continue to progress me to greatness and being viewed as a leader. I can argue I already am viewed as a leader. This will continue to develop me as a leader. A title of leader, that's cool. But what level of a leader, So I best be going.